I was walking one day and some guy stopped me and said, "Hey, bro, you have my dream physique." I said, "What?" Hey, stop playing. Hey, no, seriously, don't tell me that, because if you tell me that, I'm gonna. You don't have to be everyone's cup of tea, because you can't judge an eagle by how deep it swims in the sea, and I don't think you can judge a shark by how high it climbs a tree. Imagine trying to use your feet to see, or perhaps using your ears to breathe. In the same vein, what business do you have trying to be me? Is it because of some form of perfection you think you see? If the birds have no business swimming in the sea, and the fishes have no business climbing a tree, what business do you think you have trying to be him, or her, or perhaps even me? I wrote this poem about 3 months ago, and when I wrote it, I was thinking about how I look at other people when I admire what they're doing, and I'm thinking, I wish I could be like them, or I could be them. But really, what I desire is not to be them. What I desire is to be, or to have the qualities they have, or to have the skills they have. And if I'm assuming that their skills are all that makes them them, I'm sorely mistaken, because they must have gone through some sort of hardship to be able to attain something that is admirable or desirable. Anytime someone has something that we want, we can assume that they went through something to get it. Obviously, people go through dubious means to get certain things, but let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that they didn't do anything kind of, bad to get it, but they got it anyways. And I'm thinking, if they went, they did things the right way, but they still had to go through something hard, would I be able to, or scratch that, would I even want to go through what they went through to get to where they've got? Because when I look at the things that people wish they had, like for me, I started working out 2-3 years ago because, I felt inadequate. I felt like I needed to gain people's validation. And to some degree, these days, I still kind of feel that way. That's why sometimes I run. I run like shirtless. No, but it's the sweat. It's because of the sweat, right? And, also, it's nice. It's just nice to be like, yeah, look at me. Sorry, I've veered off track. But what I'm trying to say is that before I started working out, what got me to work out was just having my heart absolutely shattered. Like I can't go into the specifics, but it was just a really bad time for me. It was like a combination of so many bad things. It was also like the height of COVID at that time. Everyone was sort of indoors, and I was working, but there was barely anything for me to do because there was a global pandemic. And whenever people say, "Oh, David, you look so good." Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but "Oh, you look fit." I was walking one day and some guy stopped me and said, "Hey, bro, you have my dream physique." I said, "What?" Hey, stop playing. Hey, no, seriously, don't tell me that, because if you tell me that, sorry, again, off track. What I'm trying to say is, when you go from not having something worth admiring, or not having something admirable, to then having something that a lot of people envy or admire, you start to realize that, oh, they don't know what I had to go through or what I had to experience to actually get here. That heartbreak and that whole season of my life, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like there were days where I was crying and I was talking to my roommates and they would like kind of hear the pain in my voice. I just became a different person. I became indifferent, nonchalant. I didn't hate everything around me. I just thought it'd be better to feel nothing, or to pretend to feel nothing, than to feel something and let it be known and then have my heart broken because of it. So what I'm trying to say, long story short, is that I imagine that for me, and that people don't know that when they ask me or they want to be or want to have what I have, how much more other people, like when I see them and I want what they have, what do they have to go through to get it? Of course, there's varying degrees, right? You don't have to go through trauma to be able to edit like a cinematic video, right? But people's ideas and people's skills come from their life experience, and everyone has their own life experience and everyone has their own path. And dare I say, no, I mean, everyone has their own puzzle, right? And if everyone's been given their own puzzle to do, why would I try to solve someone else's puzzle? Even if I'm able to solve their puzzle, what good does it serve me? It's not my puzzle to solve, right? And also, it's a bit prideful to think that we can solve someone else's puzzle. Like, nah, that's easy. I could solve that. It's just a bunch of, fix the corners up. It's like, no. If you were them and you had gone through life exactly how they went, you were born where they were born, went through exactly, like had their life, that would be a difficult puzzle for you to solve, and you would have to do it yourself. Same way that other people are looking at your puzzle thinking, that's easy. What did he go for? Heartbreak? That's easy. I get my heart broken 5 times a week. First of all, if that's happening, I would seriously ask you to seek help. Please stop doing this to yourself. But I guess what I've been trying to say this whole time is we should be ourselves. When I wrote the line, imagine trying to use your feet to see, or perhaps using your ears to breathe, I really like that, because if just do this mental exercise with me, if you're trying to use your feet to see, maybe by some miracle of biology or science, you're able to actually see with your feet, right? Now, let's go through the logic of doing that. You would be stepping on your eyes every day as you walk. So either you put shoes on so that, your feet don't get stabbed or basically just accrue dirt and germs, or you leave you just walk out around barefoot, right? And even regardless of what you do, the eyes on your feet would not be as effective as where they are right now, right? That sounds insane. Like, it sounds far-fetched, right? But then you also have another example, using your ears to breathe. Every time you inhale or exhale, you can't hear a single thing that's happening. So you would have to hold your breath. And if you hold your breath just so you can hear someone speak, imagine you go to church and you're trying to listen to a sermon. You would have to hold your breath for the entire sermon. And you could be sitting next to someone, oh, tell your neighbor XYZ, and you're just like veins popping out of you're just red. Sorry. But yeah, imagine trying to use your feet to see or your ears to breathe. It just wouldn't work the same way that your current organs do, meaning that every part of our body serves a purpose, and it serves a purpose in like where it's at. So I kind of apply that same reasoning to people in general. I get this, obviously the comparison of being a part of a body to the Bible, right? We are the body of Christ, right? So every part of the body has its purpose. If the eyes are to see and the nose is used to breathe, right? You can't ask the feet to see, and you can't ask the ear to breathe. It just doesn't work. So when we're trying to be someone else or trying to forsake ourselves in favor of someone else, we are claiming that the purpose we've been given is kind of like we were like wrongly assigned, right? And we want to take on another purpose. And talking about purpose and all these things is sort of very vague, right? It seems very vague. It seems like purpose, it sounds so grandiose. Your purpose doesn't have to be this insane, like, oh, I'm gonna have 50k followers on Instagram, and then I'm gonna have a YouTube channel with 60,000. Listen, that may not be your purpose. Your purpose may just be to serve people around you, and you could be the best neighbor that anyone has ever had. When people are talking about their life story, they'll say, oh, there was this one neighbor I had, his name is David. We weren't friends. I didn't really take his information, but every time I saw him, he was very pleasant. And on days when I was sad, I'd be looking forward to seeing him. And for me, I have people like that in my life where I'm looking forward to seeing them, because I know that once I see them, they'll put a smile on my face. Even if I don't want to talk to them, when I see them, they'll put a smile on my face. And that I can't really claim that that's their purpose, but in the moment, for that day, they served the purpose of being a means of encouragement to someone who was struggling with something that they didn't even know. I'm not going to go around telling my business to everyone, but I know that once I talk to this person, it can alleviate the burden of whatever it is that I'm going through. So whenever you get discouraged, or whenever you start to look down on yourself because you don't have something someone else has, or you're not the person someone else is, I want you to think about this. Imagine trying to use your feet to see. Imagine trying to use your ears to breathe. Imagine judging an eagle by how deep it swims in the sea, and imagine judging a shark by how high it climbs an oak tree. The criteria is off. You're judging yourself and you're judging your function based off criteria for another person. Of course you're going to feel insignificant. Of course you're going to feel insecure, because that's not where you're meant to operate. And maybe that's where you're meant to operate, but you're not at that level yet. So while you're comparing yourself to someone who's gone through a certain amount of life experiences and been able to do it for a certain amount of time, you haven't been through those things, one, and two, you also haven't had that amount of time to do what they've done. We have people that we look up to, we have people that we admire, and it's okay to compare ourselves to them. In fact, it's necessary to compare ourselves to other people just so we can, not necessarily compete, but just so we can sort of have a secondary standard. But but the primary standard should be ourselves. When I look in the mirror and I ask myself, David, are you better than you were yesterday? If the answer is no, I have to sit down and take inventory of that. And then we can move on to the secondary standard and say, okay, I'm looking at this person. I look up to this person. This person is my role model. What did they do in this department? How are they kind of achieving whatever that I want to achieve in this department? And then you can go on from there. But if you start off with your primary comparison as someone else, you'll never be satisfied, because again, you cannot possibly compare you to someone else as your first instinct, because you don't know what they went through. You don't know what their life has been like, and you don't know exactly what they do on a daily basis to get the skills or accolades or achievements that they have, right? But the thing is, you know what you had to do to get where you are. If you really want to have someone to look up to the ideal version of you. What would the ideal version of David do? For me, when I sit down, I'm like, the ideal version of David is able to tell a story. He's able to weave a narrative and hook people and grab people's attention. And he's able to do this on Instagram. He's able to do this on YouTube. He's able to do this in different avenues. And he's able to do it consistently for a long period of time. That's where I want to be. Then I ask myself, what does David have to do to get there? And then I build the list accordingly. So for me, it's very tough sometimes to not compare myself to someone. Like, just primarily just look at them and be like, oh, why am I not like this? Even today, I was scrolling through Instagram stories and I was like, man, this guy is so great. This guy is so cool. How did he do that? How did he do that? And then I realized people also ask me how I did certain things. I'm like, nah, it's not that big a deal. It's actually simple. It's actually easy. And I'm not saying it to brag, but I genuinely think what I do is not even that big of a deal. I'm just like, yeah, that's just what I do, you know? When I write my poems, when I make my videos, when I am able to articulate thoughts and feelings, I just think, yeah, that's just what I do on a daily basis. But other people don't do that. Other people don't do it like I do it. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but it's a means of me sort of recentering myself and being grateful for the gift that God has given me. If I possess something that others admire, but has become sort of mundane or effortless to me, I have to take inventory and ask myself and reflect and say, it seems like this is not really as normal as I thought it was. But because I've been present for the whole duration of my life, obviously, because I'm me, I am so familiar with my skills and my downfalls. So whenever someone says, hey, David, like, you're really good at this, I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, my immediate thought is to deflect, or my immediate thought is to say, oh, it's nothing. It's not that big of a deal, right? But I think that's insulting, both to God and to myself and what I've been able to accomplish. So whenever you look down on yourself or try to push aside any compliments you get, you're just insulting yourself and you're insulting the gift that God has given you. It's like, oh yeah, it's not a big a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, no, it is a big deal, because not everyone can do it like you do it. And again, that's not a way for you to toot your own horn or a way for you to kind of revel in pride, but it's a way for you to recenter yourself and be grateful for what you have and develop what you have, sharpen the tools that you have instead of trying to gain someone else's tool set. It's just not helpful. It's just not productive at the end of the day if you are trying to use them as a primary comparison for yourself. I've been rambling on for way too long. My point is, just be yourself. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how long it's going to take you to actually get to a point where you can comfortably be you. But I just want you to remember, you have something worth admiring. You have something that the world needs to see. And every time you look down on yourself after comparing yourself to another person, you are depriving not just the world, but you're depriving yourself of what you're capable of achieving. If I never started this YouTube channel and I never started my Instagram page because other people were better than me at poetry or recording, cinematic videos or whatever it is that I was comparing myself to, I would have never been able to do what I'm doing now. And I would have never developed a system, and I would have never developed the skills that I've developed. So every time you're comparing yourself to other people and you decide to not do something because you're not someone else, you are losing out on so much that you can't even comprehend what you're losing out on. So please again, do not let your comparison of yourself to someone else stop you from doing something only you are capable of. Thank you for watching, and as always, Godspeed. Oh, also watch this video. This one right here. Yeah. Godspeed.